Welcome to Hot Drama TV.
She broke down because of one sentence, Song Zuer's 2-year silence, and the comeback no one dared to imagine. There are moments in the entertainment industry that look ordinary on the surface. A fan meeting, a few words exchanged, a familiar face smiling under stage lights. But sometimes one sentence is enough to break through years of silence, pain, and restraint. Thank you for coming back. The moment those words were spoken, Song Zuer froze. Her eyes turned red almost instantly. Her voice trembled. The carefully maintained composure of a professional actress collapsed in seconds. Standing in front of her fans, she finally admitted something she had kept buried for 2 long years. I made you wait for too long. I never dared to imagine I would be able to stand in front of you again. That single confession carried the weight of an entire lost chapter of her life. A reunion 2 years in the making. This was not an ordinary wrap-up meeting. It was a reunion delayed by 730 days of uncertainty. 2 years earlier, Song Zuer's career had come to an abrupt halt. At the peak of her rising trajectory, she was suddenly pulled into a storm, not by her own actions, but by allegations involving a former staff member. Financial and tax-related controversies spread rapidly, and the industry responded with ruthless efficiency. Projects paused. Endorsements were terminated. Public appearances vanished overnight. Several completed dramas, including highly anticipated works, were shelved indefinitely. For a long time, Song Zuer seemed to disappear completely, not just from screens but from public conversation itself. In an industry that moves on quickly, silence is often more dangerous than scandal. When everything was put on pause, for many this would have been the moment to break. But instead of defending herself loudly or fueling speculation, Song Zuer chose something far more difficult: absolute restraint. She cooperated fully with official investigations. She worked quietly through financial reviews and compliance procedures. No emotional statements. No public blame. No dramatic appeals for sympathy. Just time and patience. For nearly a year, she lived in professional limbo. Unable to work freely, unable to explain herself, unsure whether the future she had built since childhood would still exist when the dust settled. Only in 2024 did her studio release a formal statement confirming that no violations had been found. The storm that had followed her for so long finally came to an end. But by then, the real question was no longer was she cleared. It was, would the audience still be waiting? The quietest comeback through work alone. Song Zuer answered that question not with interviews but with action. She went back to Hongdian and stayed there. Day after day. Scene after scene. Industry insiders soon gave her a new nickname: Hongdian's hardest worker. She avoided publicity and focused entirely on filming. When the drama The Prisoner of Beauty, her long-delayed collaboration with Liu Yuning, finally aired, few expected what happened next. The series exploded. Viewership records were broken on streaming platforms. Satellite TV picked it up. Ratings surged. Discussions returned, this time about her performance, not her past. One successful project followed another. High scores. Strong word of mouth. And yet Song Zuer never slowed down. She moved directly from one set to the next almost without rest. As if afraid that stopping, even for a moment, might cause everything to disappear again. What the audience didn't see, her most recent project, a Republican-era spy drama, revealed just how far she was willing to go. To fit the role, she cut off her long hair, something she had kept for years. For a scene lasting less than 30 seconds, she trained her calf muscles for 2 full months. No shortcuts, no implants. And then came the wrap-up meeting. But this time she reversed the roles. Instead of fans preparing gifts, Song Zuer prepared for them. Every fan received hot braised pork rice, roasted pears, warm milk tea, and hand warmers placed directly into their hands. She even personally purchased luxury lipsticks from her newly announced endorsement, choosing a shade that matched the fans' support color, water drop blue. It wasn't a gesture for headlines. It was gratitude made tangible. The sentence that broke everything open. When she sat down to talk with fans, there was no distance. Just the warmth of old friends who had survived something together. Then someone said it. Thank you for coming back. That was all. Song Zuer tried to smile. She failed. Years of restraint collapsed in that instant. Tears filled her eyes as she spoke from the heart, not as a star, but as someone who had once doubted whether she would ever be allowed to return. The fans began to cry too. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't staged. It was mutual. A rare, genuine moment of two-way devotion in an industry often built on illusions. A promise kept. Long ago, Song Zuer had said, "I will repay waiting with better work." She did exactly that. Not with explanations, not with excuses, but with roles, discipline, and time. Her story is not just about a comeback. It's about what happens when someone chooses silence over noise and perseverance over despair. And now, as new projects wait to meet the audience, one thing is clear. She didn't just return. She earned her way back. What we rarely talk about, the cost of coming back. What the camera didn't capture that day was not just tears. It was fear. Fear that the warmth might be temporary. Fear that trust, once broken by silence, could never be fully repaired. Fear that one wrong step would send everything back into darkness. For 2 years, Song Zuer lived with that fear. In the Chinese entertainment industry, time does not wait for anyone. New faces appear overnight. Trends shift in months. Audiences forget quickly. For a young actress whose career once depended on momentum, disappearing for 2 years was not just risky. It was almost fatal. Many never return. Some choose to retreat quietly. Some are forced out without a farewell. Some come back louder but never stronger. Song Zuer chose none of these paths. Silence was her loudest decision. During the controversy, the public wanted explanations. The media wanted reactions. Social platforms wanted drama. She gave them none. That silence was misunderstood by some as weakness. In reality, it was discipline. It was the decision to let facts finish speaking before emotions took over. Behind the scenes, she reorganized her entire professional life. Financial systems, management teams, legal structures. Not because she had to prove innocence to the internet, but because she understood something deeper. Trust, once damaged, can only be rebuilt through structure, not words. And while the public debated, she waited. Why? "Thank you for coming back" hurt so much. When that fan said those 6 words, it reopened something Song Zuer had never allowed herself to fully face. Because coming back was never guaranteed. There were nights she likely asked herself, what if the audience moves on? What if the industry never calls again? What if all the work I do in silence is never seen? The fans didn't know how close she had come to disappearing forever. That's why she cried. Not because she was sad, but because someone remembered. A comeback built on fear, not confidence. Most comeback stories are sold as confidence arcs. This one wasn't. Song Zuer's return was built on fear of losing everything again. That fear kept her on set longer than anyone else. That fear made her cut her hair without hesitation. That fear pushed her to train for months for seconds of screen time. And paradoxically, that fear turned into strength. Because when someone has already touched the bottom, they stop taking applause for granted. Why this moment resonates beyond fandom. This story goes far beyond celebrity culture. It resonates because it mirrors something deeply human. Wading through uncertainty. Being judged before being understood. Returning quietly, unsure if anyone will notice. Many people watching didn't just see an actress cry. They saw themselves. Someone who stayed when things were hardest. Someone who didn't quit, even when quitting seemed reasonable. That's why this moment spread. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. The industry is watching now. What happens next matters. Producers are watching to see if her stability lasts. Brands are watching to see if trust remains steady. Audiences are watching not to judge but to believe. And this time, Song Zuer knows something she didn't before. Fame can disappear overnight. But respect is earned slowly, and it stays. The most powerful line she never said. She never said, "I survived." She never said, "They were wrong." She never said, "I deserve this." Instead she said, "I didn't dare to imagine I could stand here again." And perhaps that humility is the real reason people stayed. This is the beginning. If this truly marks the start of a new chapter, then it won't be defined by charts or ratings alone. It will be defined by consistency over time, work over noise, Gratitude over entitlement, because the audience didn't just welcome her back, they chose to walk with her again. What do you think? Was this comeback inevitable, or was it made possible only because someone chose to endure instead of give up? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us for the next one. Thank you for watching.